Welcome back to my channel, Celebes. Please share and subscribe and press the bell icon for new updates. After 37 years, people finally found out what really happened to Andy Gibb, and it's sadder than we thought. Andy Gibb was born on March 5, 1958 in Manchester, England. His real name was Andrew Roy Gibb. He was the youngest of the Gibb brothers. This family became super famous because of a music group called the Bee Gees. Andy wasn't in the Bee Gees like his older brothers Barry, Robin, and Morris, but he still became a big music star all by himself. When Andy was little, his family moved from England to Australia in the mid-1960s. This meant Andy grew up knowing about both English and Australian ways of life. This helped shape who he would become as a person and as a singer. Even when Andy was very young, everyone could tell he was great at music. He was charming, had a warm voice, and people just liked him. You could tell he was going to be a star someday. Andy started his music career in the mid-1970s. He was really talented, but his brothers also helped him a lot. They were great at writing songs. In 1977, Andy made his first album called Flowing Rivers. This album had two songs that became #1 hits in America. The songs were I Just Wanna Be Your Everything and Love Is Thicker Than Water. These weren't just popular songs. They were songs that made people feel good and happy. Andy had a special way of singing that was smooth and made people feel emotions. His voice was different from other singers in the late 1970s, and that's what made him special. By 1978, Andy became even more famous with his second album called Shadow Dancing. The main song from this album also became a #1 hit in America. This was his third #1 song in a row, which was really amazing. Only a few singers in history have done that. Andy quickly became what people call a teen idol. This means young people, especially teenage girls, really loved him. They loved his music, but they also thought he was very handsome and had a great personality. Andy appeared on lots of TV shows like Solid Gold, The Love Boat, and he even helped host a TV show. People also talked about his love life because he dated famous women like Victoria Principal, who was on a TV show called Dallas. Everyone was interested in what Andy was doing in his personal life. In early 1987, Andy went to a place that helps people stop using drugs. This wasn't his first time trying to get clean. Andy had been struggling with drug problems for most of his adult life. These problems had hurt both his personal life and his music career many times. But this time, Andy really believed he could beat his drug problems for good. He felt hopeful and clear-minded. He started making plans to come back to the music business and wanted to be successful again. Andy's goal was to get a record deal so he could make a new album in 1988. He thought this could be his big comeback after years of having problems and not making much music. In June 1987, Andy went back to the recording studio. He was excited but also a little nervous because he knew this might be his last chance to make great music again. During these recording sessions, he made 4 new songs. He put all his feelings and experiences into these songs. One song was called Man on Fire, which was about his struggles and his desire to overcome them. Even though Andy died before this song was officially released, it came out in 1991 on a collection of songs from Polydor Records. Fans finally got to hear what Andy was working on. Another song Andy recorded was called Arrow Through the Heart. This became very important because it was the last song Andy ever recorded. This song had deep meaning and sad words. It was later played on a TV show called Behind the Music on VH1. The song finally came out in November 2010 on a big collection of Bee Gees music called Mythology. This let people hear the final song from Andy's musical journey. Andy didn't make these songs by himself. He worked with his brothers Barry and Morris to write them. The 3 brothers had always had a special musical connection since they were kids. Working together on these songs showed how much they trusted each other and how well they could create music together. The songs were first recorded as demos with an engineer named Scott Glazel. He was really good at his job and made sure Andy's emotions and raw talent were captured in the recordings. These demo recordings eventually reached Clive Banks, who worked for Island Records in England. Clive could see how good Andy's new music was. Even though Andy never officially signed a record contract during this time, the record company had real plans to release his music. They planned to release a single in Europe in the spring, then another single in the summer. After that, they would release a full album. This plan showed that people in the music business still believed Andy could be successful and make a comeback. Sadly, Andy never got to see these plans happen. Andy had many hit songs that people still remember today. Besides his #1 hits, he had other top 10 songs like An Everlasting Love. This was a song written by his brother Barry that mixed soft rock and disco music. His fans really loved it. He also had songs like Desire, which showed how Andy could put real emotion into every note he sang. Another popular song was Our Love, Don't Throw It All Away, which was a gentle love song that couples really connected with. These songs proved that Andy wasn't just popular because he was good-looking. He was also a real artist who could make people feel both happiness and sadness through his music. The music industry recognized Andy's talent too. At the 20th Grammy Awards, Andy got 2 Grammy nominations. This was really impressive for such a young artist. These nominations put him alongside some of the biggest stars of the late 1970s. It proved that Andy's success wasn't just because his brothers were famous. He had real talent and charm of his own. Andy also got nominated for 2 American Music Awards, which showed how popular he was with both audiences and music critics in the United States. People didn't just love Andy's voice and songs. They also thought he was very handsome and charming. Years later, VH1 put him at number 82 on their list of the 100 sexiest artists. This showed that Andy was considered a heartthrob whose good looks were just as powerful on stage as they were on TV and in photos. However, even though Andy was super popular in America, he had a harder time being successful in England, where he was born. In Britain, he only had 1 top 10 hit, which was An Everlasting Love. This difference between how well he did in America versus England showed how hard it can be to be successful in different countries, even for someone with lots of talent. Unfortunately, as the 1980s went on, Andy's life started to get much worse. The pressure of being famous combined with personal problems and the tough demands of the entertainment business led him to make bad choices. He started using drugs and alcohol and began acting recklessly. He became unreliable, often not showing up to performances, rehearsals, and work commitments. His once bright and promising career started to fall apart as he got deeper into drugs, alcohol, and dangerous behavior. This not only hurt his professional reputation, but also damaged his personal relationships with family and friends. The consequences came quickly and were severe. Andy was kicked out of big musical theater shows like The Pirates of Penzance and Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. These shows could have helped his career grow beyond just pop music. In 1981, he was also fired from co-hosting the TV show Solid Gold, which had given him the chance to be seen by millions of viewers every week. Losing these opportunities really hurt Andy's career. As all these problems piled up, Andy's mental and emotional health got worse. The combination of career failures, drug abuse, and inner pain made him very depressed. He also started having money problems. By 1987, after years of bad decisions and owing lots of money, Andy had to declare bankruptcy. This public financial collapse was a really low point in a life that had once seemed like it would be successful forever. The brightness that had once surrounded Andy Gibb was now dimmed by painful reality. Here was a young man with incredible gifts who had been brought down by the pressures and temptations of the very world that had once loved him. Andy's personal life changed significantly on July 11th, 1976, when he was just 18 years old. He married Kim Reeder, an Australian woman he had met while living in Sydney. At this time, Andy's music career was just starting, and the marriage faced challenges because they were young, lived far apart, and Andy's career was getting busier. Their relationship was passionate at first, but it quickly became strained because of Andy's growing fame, increasing work schedule, and the long times they had to spend apart because of his rising career. Less than 2 years later, their differences became too big to fix, and they got divorced on January 15, 1978. However, their story didn't end when they legally ended their marriage. Just 10 days after their divorce, on January 25, 1978, Kim gave birth to their daughter Peta in Sydney, Australia. The timing meant that Andy, who was now living mostly in other countries, wasn't there when she was born. Even though having a child can bring great joy, Andy's connection to Peta remained very limited throughout his life. Reports say that he only met her once in 1981 during a short visit to Australia. That single meeting was both sweet and sad. It was filled with curiosity and emotion, but sadly didn't lead to an ongoing father-daughter relationship. Peta grew up with her mother in Australia and used the name Peta J. Reader Gibb, which reflected both sides of her family. As an adult, Peta developed a deep love for animals, especially a type of dog called Staffordshire Bull Terrier. She became a respected dog breeder in the Australian dog community. Her knowledge and dedication to this breed eventually led her to become a dog show judge in New South Wales, where she earned a reputation for being knowledgeable and fair. In her personal life, Peta found happiness when she married Matt Weber in January 2008. Starting a new chapter that was far away from the fame and chaos of her father's world. Meanwhile, in January 1981, Andy's life took another romantic turn during a guest appearance on The John Davidson Show. It was there that he met Victoria Principal, the glamorous actress best known for playing Pamela Barnes, viewing on the hit TV series Dallas. Their meeting created an immediate connection between two attractive, high-profile entertainers who were drawn to each other. The pair soon began a romantic relationship that fascinated the entertainment press, mixing the worlds of music and television into a highly publicized love affair. For decades, fans of Andy Gibb, the youngest brother of the legendary Bee Gees, were left with a haunting question that seemed to hang in the air like an unfinished song. What really happened to him? His sudden death in March 1988, just days after his 30th birthday, shocked the music world. The official explanation was heart failure, which was very rare for someone so young, but people kept whispering, guessing, and spreading rumors. Some believed it was simply the result of years of hard living catching up to him. Others suspected there was something deeper, more complicated, and more heartbreaking than the public had been told. For years, friends, family members, and devoted fans could only piece together small parts of the truth from interviews, books people wrote about their memories, and the occasional rare admission. The mystery became more than just curiosity. It became a painful wound in pop culture history. Andy had been a bright star who rose incredibly fast in the late 1970s with hits like I Just Want to Be Your Everything and Shadow Dancing. His fall from success seemed just as sudden and confusing. After he died, there was respectful silence from those closest to him, as if some truths were too painful to say out loud. While his older brothers, Barry, Robin, and Morris, occasionally talked about his personal struggles, they often chose their words very carefully, leaving big gaps in the story. For many years, the public story was that Andy had simply lost his way and couldn't get better. But people on the inside hinted there was much more behind his decline than anyone wanted to admit. Then 37 years later, a combination of personal revelations, private letters, and long-hidden interviews began to shed light on what really happened in Andy Gibb's final year. Former colleagues, friends, and even medical professionals who had treated him started to come forward, breaking a silence they had kept out of loyalty and sadness. What came out was not the neat, tragic story that fans had long imagined. It was much messier, rawer, and more painful truth. His health problems, once believed to be entirely caused by years of drug abuse, were far more complicated. They involved not only the damage from past addiction, but also severe emotional and mental health struggles that had been misunderstood or ignored in a time when such issues carried heavy shame. Perhaps most shocking of all was learning how close Andy had come multiple times to making a full comeback. Not just professionally, but in his personal health and happiness. There were times in the years before his death when he was clean from drugs, writing new songs and talking excitedly about the future. But those good moments were fragile and easily broken by loneliness, the crushing pressure of living in the shadow of his famous brothers, and unresolved heartbreak from relationships that had ended badly. The mystery wasn't a single event or evil conspiracy. It was years of quiet suffering, wrong medical diagnoses, and emotional wounds that never fully healed building up over time. When the full story finally came out, it was worse than fans had imagined. Not because of scandal or shocking secrets, but because it showed just how preventable Andy's death might have been if the understanding, resources, and medical support available today had existed in the 1980s. It painted a picture of a man who wasn't simply a fallen star, but a deeply sensitive person who battled more than the public ever knew. For those who had loved his music and felt sad about his loss, the truth was both sweet and bitter. The mystery was solved, but it left behind an even heavier sadness, knowing that Andy Gibb's life could have been so much longer, and his music could have blessed the world for many more decades.